First thing you are going to do is mix all your ingredients together with the pork and leave it to marinate overnight in the fridge. After 24 hours, your meat should look something similar to this. We are then going to place it on a roasting rack and into the oven at 200 degrees centigrade. We're going to cook this pork through for approximately 30 minutes, basting every 10 minutes with a marinade. To do this, we're going to take the liquid that remains from the pork and pour it into a pan before cooking it down till it forms a thick syrup-like consistency. Throughout cooking, we will then remove the pork from the oven and continuously baste it. Approximately once every 10 minutes should be enough. And we're going to cook the pork until it has an internal temperature of approximately 62 degrees centigrade. And here is the finished article. Now, there's a lot of discussion as to whether or not we should marinade and freeze or cook and freeze. I prefer to do the cook and freeze method, and what I like to do is I like to take the char siu and slice it into thin strips before using it straight away for, say, something simple like a chow mein, or freezing it for later use. In the bowl, we'll first mix 2 tablespoons of Char Siu wine, 1 tablespoon sugar, 1 teaspoon salt, 1 tablespoon of white pepper, 1 tablespoon of 5-spice powder. We then give it a good mix to ensure all the ingredients are thoroughly mixed. We can then get 500 grams of our belly pork. Before basting, we're going to pat and dry every inch. Some people prefer to pre-boil this. You may wish to do so. I didn't on this occasion. Just going to ensure every inch is perfectly dry, ready to marinate and ready to baste our skin in a vinegar mixture. We then turn the pork upside down, making inch-wide incisions before slicing down the middle lengthwise, being careful not to go through the skin. This allows the belly pork to really soak up the marinade. We can then baste the flesh of the belly pork, taking care not to touch the skin with a Char Siu and seasoning mixture, ensuring every inch is coated in all the marinade. We're going to then flip the belly pork skin side up, ensuring that none of the mixture is on the skin. If so, we're quickly going to pat that dry before making it a nice little housing with some tin foil, allowing just the skin to show. Finally, we're going to really want to pierce that skin as much as possible. I don't own a meat tenderizer, so I got a bunch of, skewers to put the skin. This allows the salt and vinegar to really penetrate, allowing the skin to really crisp up. I go through twice to really ensure I've pierced it as much as physically possible. In a separate dish, we're going to stir 2 tablespoons of rice wine vinegar and 1 teaspoon of baking soda. Along with the salt, this will help to draw out moisture and really give our pork a lovely crisp and crunch. We then completely baste the skin with the vinegar and baking soda mixture, again ensuring all is covered. For now, our meat is prepared and we must refrigerate for at least 24 hours to allow that baking soda and vinegar to penetrate, and also to allow the marinade to flavour the flesh. After 24 hours, we rest our belly pork on a roasting tin with rack, and all we're going to simply do at this stage is coat the skin with salt. I used rock salt on this occasion, but I have used table salt in the past. It's really important to ensure that none of the skin is showing at this stage. We then place this in a preheated oven at 200 degrees C or 390 Fahrenheit for at least 2 hours. As you can see, I've just used a bit of table salt to ensure I've fully coated the skin. After 2 hours, we can remove the pork from the oven and very carefully remove the salt crust, taking care not to burn our precious fingers. One tip which I've learned over time is at this stage we can then add, after drying and removing all the salt, 2 tablespoons more of rice wine vinegar, perfect for that final crisp up. We then return the pork back into the oven for 30 to 40 minutes or until the skin is crisp, bubbled and ready to eat. So there you go, making sure not to waste any of that vinegar mixture. And if done correctly, your pork should sound like this. Beautiful. So we're going to remove that from the rack. And this recipe is so good, I just have to taste a sample straight away. Or two, or three. However, it is absolutely delicious, served on rice with some sliced lime and what we call a sweetened mustard, which is 2 tablespoons of caster sugar and 1 tablespoon of Dijon mustard. And there you go, there is our Siu Yuk. And look at that moisture and look at that crispy skin, absolutely bang on and delicious. Start by prepping around 340 grams of beef medallion steaks, thinly slicing before mixing with a mixture of baking soda and soy sauces. Give it a thorough mix and leave it to rest for at least 2 hours. Add your beef to a smoking hot wok and brown through, before adding approximately 4 cloves of chopped garlic, some ginger, 2 tablespoons of dark soy sauce and water, and bring that to a boil. Add a cornflour slurry to thicken the mixture before adding some spring onion greens and mixing through. And now the dish is ready to serve with any accompaniment of choice. Absolutely delicious, sweet, sticky. Hello. In today's episode, I am going to show you how to make steamed fish with ginger, spring onion and soy sauce. A delicate dish which is sure to impress, extremely easy to prepare, more so to cook. Have a watch, spot the ingredients and give it a go. You can use any white fish you want. In this case, I used hake, but the dish also works well with cod. So we're going to start by peeling the back of a spoon and slicing ginger. And it's a relatively easy process using a spoon, and it also is less wastage. You'll find that the skin and the roots of each piece comes off very easily. We then take each slice and cut it into smaller sticks. I usually do this by eye and taste. Mrs. Faceless loves ginger, so I love to whack a generous amount on each fish fillet. After this, we take 3 to 4 spring onion greens, we trim, clean and shred. I use a shredder tool. It's very cheap and easy to pick up on Amazon. I think I paid maybe £2 for this. So after our spring onions have been shredded, we're then going to take a mix of 1 to 1.25 dry rice to water, which has been already thoroughly soaked and rinsed over a period of 2 hours or so. Season and place it on to boil. In a deep fill dish, we'll gently place our fillets, which have been dried, before placing 5 to 6 tablespoons of soy sauce at the base. Standard soy sauce and not dark soy sauce is used here. We're then going to line our ginger matchsticks on top of each fillet. This is now ready to steam. For final ingredients, we're simply going to gather 2 tablespoons of sesame oil and vegetable oil. This is going to be used for the final topping to our dish when everything else has been cooked. We check on our rice and allow it to slowly simmer. When the water is just about to evaporate completely, we're going to place a lid on the pan and remove this from the heat to steam for anywhere between 10 to 30 minutes, depending on the time that we have. Remembering when this has been completed to gently fork the rice to produce the fluffiness. Bringing a pan of water to boil, we're going to top this with a bamboo steamer and then place the dish with the fish inside of a steamer. Placing the lid back on, and the fillets will need to steam between 5 to 10 minutes depending on the thickness of each fillet. Whilst those are being cooked, we're going to gently heat our sesame oil and vegetable oil in a pan, being sure to not overheat the oil, as this will be the finishing touch to our dish. Whilst the oil is warming through, we can check on our fillets. You're going to know they're ready when a knife goes through the thickest part with ease. I tend to do this by eye these days, as I've done this dish a few times now. So we're going to take our rice that has been steamed, we're going to place this in a bowl, and we're going to top this with our white fish fillets. And then when that's done, we're going to pour our soy sauce, which has also been steaming in the bottom of the dish and has actually gathered all those wonderful flavours from the ginger and fish, and we're going to pour that around the rice and around the fish, allowing that rice to soak up all those wonderful juices. We're then going to top each fillet with our shredded spring onion greens. After this, we're going to gently pour the hot oil mixture over these onions. You know it's perfect if you hear that wonderful sizzle as you pour the oil on top. And there you have it, a simple, relatively healthy steamed fish with ginger, spring onion and soy sauce. I'm going to take a pork loin joint, about 2 kilograms. The reason I use pork loin is simple. It's tasty and tender whilst being good on the budget. Firstly, we're going to carefully remove the skin and fat layer from the meat. See the video later this week to see what I did with this remaining flesh. So as you can see, I'm taking great care to just slice between the skin layer and the meat, trying my very best not to slice my fingers off. Again, my knife cutting skills aren't particularly the best. I wouldn't recommend using my method to take the skin off, but if it works, it works. After removing the layer, we're going to cut the loin into evenly sized pieces before placing these pieces into a bowl, to which we're going to add around 3 tablespoons of dark brown sugar, followed by 2 tablespoons or so of muscovado, and then onto our liquids. We're going to add around 50 ml of honey and another 50 ml of maple syrup. Again, I do a lot of this by eyesight, but these are just rough ideas, so you can obviously tweak the recipe to suit your own flavours and tastes. Then add 100 ml of hoisin sauce. Now, if you can't get hold of hoisin sauce, you can substitute ketchup mayonnaise, which is a sweet soy sauce. My daughter loves it. We're then going to add 3 tablespoons of Shaoxing wine, 3 tablespoons of dark and light soy sauce, before adding 1 teaspoon of 5 spice powder, which will be coming up soon. There we go. Followed by 2 tablespoons, or 2 generous tablespoons of fermented bean curd. This is a fermented red bean curd. And for that extra red colour, I add a teaspoon of a red food colouring. I do warn you, this stuff is potent. You only need a tiny amount. Once that's all in, we're going to get our hands straight into the bowl and actually mix that thoroughly. until every inch of each piece of meat is thoroughly coated in marinade. We're then going to wrap that up and leave this for around 24 hours and allow those flavours to deepen. When needed, we're going to preheat an oven to 200 degrees centigrade, which is about 400 Fahrenheit, before spacing evenly the meat on a wire rack and placing this in the preheated oven. Unfortunately, my video did cut out. There is a recipe for Char Siu shared earlier this year, but we're going to take the remaining marinade from the bowl and we're going to reduce that in a pan until it forms a thick slurry. And then every 10 minutes we're going to take the pork out of the oven and baste each piece of the pork with a thickened mixture. We'll continue to do this until the internal temperature of our pork reaches between 63 degrees or 68 degrees Celsius or 145 to 155 Fahrenheit. I go for the lower end as the meat is then rested for 10 minutes, so then it will continue to cook slowly. We can then slice the Char Siu and either cool and freeze for later use or use it immediately. I tend to like to steal a couple of pieces for me, but for the chow mein I did use a pre-made frozen pack, which we then took out of the freezer 24 hours before and defrosted. So there you have our nice Char Siu recipe. Simple, easy to follow, and the longest it takes is just 24 hours sat in the fridge marinating. Very little hands-on time is needed. And now on to our chow mein. The first thing we do is take 300 grams of 3 dried batches of Lucky Boat No. 1 noodles, or any other thick dry egg noodle will be fine. We're going to coat it in a freshly boiled kettle of water, and all we're going to do is leave that for 5 minutes. We're then going to drain the noodles, leave them to steam dry. Some people do prefer to wash them in cold water to stop the cooking process, but I find 5 minutes is enough time and not too much time that your noodles end up overcooked. And once they're steam dried, we're going to place them on a tray, spread them out to avoid them sticking to one another. And then we're on to our prep for the chow mein. We'll take our pre-made Char Siu and we're going to chop this into small bite-sized pieces. I literally empty them out of the tub and then just slice them lengthways. Did the job. After that, we're going to get 200 grams of bean sprouts. Now the bean sprouts are very quick to cook, so those are going to be one of the last things we place into the chow mein. We're also going to take not 1, not 2, but 4 pieces of garlic. And there we go. And then you have an option here. A lot of people do traditionally like to fan chop them. I like to slice them in a mandarin. And then take 2 small brown onions, peel half and then finally slice them. Before taking a bunch of spring onions, removing the whites and the heads. The whites were used in another recipe. I'm going to take off any remaining green bits that are looking a bit haggard, and then we're going to chop our green bits into 2-inch pieces. And then we're going to take our wok and preheat it till smoking. To that wok we are going to add a ladleful or so of vegetable oil. Make sure that it's coating the whole of the pan. This will help to further season the wok for future. We're then going to add our onions first, remembering to continuously stir these so they don't stick. When they've softened, we're going to add our Char Siu, and we're going to cook that through till it's just warming up. Everything from here is pretty quick. We then throw in our noodles, ensuring to toss it through so everything is nice and mixed. And to that we're going to add some soy sauce, and I think I missed it on the video, a bit of sesame oil before adding our bean sprouts and our spring onion greens at the very last minute. We're literally just going to warm them through to allow a bit of crunch to still exist from the bean sprouts. And there we go. There's our delicious Char Siu chow mein. You will need 300 grams beef of choice. London broil, skirt steak or flank steak is generally recommended. However, this can be difficult to source in a standard supermarket in the UK, so I've used beef medallions, which generally come from a tenderloin. And we're very thinly slicing this with our knife, making it as thin as possible. We're then going to add it in a mixing bowl. Into that mixing bowl, we're going to add 1 egg and 2 tablespoons of Char Siu wine. We're then going to cover it in 3 to 4 tablespoons of corn flour or potato starch, preferably if you do have it. And I'm going to give that a good mix until it forms a thick paste. We're going to take 2 bell peppers, any colour. We're going to peel, deseed and remove the membrane before thinly slicing the pepper halves, ready for our stir fry. See, I'm trying my best to use the claw method to slice my peppers. I don't think I did too badly. They're nice and even and a good enough shape for our recipe. Then I'll take 6 to 7 spring onions. I'm going to remove the bases, trim them. We're going to slice the white for use as frying in the main dish. And then we're going to take our spring onion greens and we're going to slice these into quite generous chunks. I like to add these to add a bit of vibrancy to the dish and a bit of texture. We're then going to measure out 2 tablespoons of Char Siu and 2 tablespoons of dark soy sauce, 2 tablespoons of tomato ketchup, any brand will do, and 2 tablespoons of sweet chilli. I use Blue Dragon here. And then finally 2 to 3 tablespoons of dark brown sugar, depending on how sweet you want the dish. We're then going to take a thumb-sized piece of ginger, peel it, preferably using the back of a spoon, it's nice and simple. Slice it, matchstick it, and then finally chop the matchsticks and give it a final chop just to make sure that we have some nice small pieces ready for frying. We're then going to take 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces of garlic before crushing them with a blade and then chopping again till they are finely diced. Again, feel free to go crazy with garlic or ginger depending on your own tastes. Ginger and garlic is used in quite a lot of Chinese cooking. In fact, I can't think of a recipe that doesn't use one, the other, or both. And I always have a nice stock in the kitchen. I would say a fridge, but I've started placing them in a bowl. I find that they keep a little bit better. And our final ingredient, and again, this is by choice depending on how much spice you want. My partner doesn't like too much spice, so we take 1 red chilli and I thinly slice this. You can deseed if you wish, however, I did decide to keep the seeds with this and throw them into the dish. Now again, this is personal choice. You can throw it in during the cooking, use it as a garnish, or both. We're then going to take our mixing bowl, fill it with 100 grams of corn flour or potato starch before adding a 1 to 2 teaspoons of Chinese white spice, a little bit of MSG, king of flavour, before adding our beef that has been resting away in the egg and corn flour mixture from before. And this is the part which becomes very sticky on the hands. So we're going to continuously mix this into the corn flour till all the beef is separated and firmly coated in our corn flour, potato starch, 5 spice mixture. And the rest is literally 5 minutes of cooking. We're going to take our wok, we're going to heat it till smoking. Add a ladleful of oil, around 100 mils or so I think. And when our test piece of beef is bubbling away, we can then add our beef to fry. This will take, depending on the size of the pieces, no longer than 2 to 3 minutes. We are going to rest this to one side, so it will continue the cooking process. So if it is a little bit rare, it does not matter. As you can see, it's got a nice brown colour to it, so we're going to remove this from the oil and fry the rest in batches. Now, before our next step, we will drain the oil. But all we're going to do is wipe the pan down. We're not going to clean it. We want a lot of that flavour from the beef to remain in the wok. So again, we bring the wok up to smoking before adding 2 to 3 tablespoons of vegetable oil. And then we're going to throw in our spring onion whites. Now, I didn't have control of this heat, and unfortunately some of the whites did start to catch a little bit, but managed to save it just before burning. So took it off the heat, gave it a good stir, continued stirring these whites to make sure that they didn't catch any more. And then we added our peppers and our garlic. Now, I must admit, originally I was only going to make a small dish. However, I decided to make all 3 family members at once. So halfway through the process I decided to throw in a few more ingredients. However, I've just added my pepper and my ginger. And then I'm going to add my soy sauce and shouting wine. Then I did a little bit more because I realised I was going to actually add more of the peppers to the dish and cook 3 bowls at once rather than 1. So then the rest of my peppers, my rest of my spring onion whites, and then I add my sweet chilli, give it a stir through. It really is very quick to cook at this stage. After that's heated through, I then add my garlic. I tend to add it later in the recipe because I find that sometimes if your wok is too hot it can catch the garlic. So what I like to do is add it at this stage because I find that if it's finely diced enough it usually takes around a couple of minutes to cook through completely. And sometimes it's nice to have that fresh garlic taste. Then I add my ketchup and my sugar. And that's our sauce base all ready. We're then going to throw in our beef. And we're going to warm that beef within the mixture. Now, if you've cooked your beef 1 to 2 hours early, that's fine. It just needs a couple of minutes more. We then throw our spring onion greens at the very last few minutes. And if you want a spicy dish at this point, you can add some sliced chili. I chose not to on this occasion. And you can just see those beautiful colours there. That's now ready for serving. So what I've done is cook some rice off to one side. I go for 1 cup of rice to 1 cup of water. Cook it till the water runs dry and then steam dry for another 10 minutes. And there is our delicious, sticky, sweet, crispy chili beef. As a final addition, we're going to add a little bit of a chili garnish because who doesn't like a chili garnish? Is we are going to get ourselves a pan and put all the ingredients for the orange sauce. That's the garlic, the chopped ginger, the sugar, followed by the light brown sugar, the rice wine vinegar, the soy sauce and the orange juice. We're going to put that on a hob and we're going to cook that through until everything is combined and the sauce mixture begins to thicken. Once the sauce has cooked through and cooked down a little, we're going to add the corn flour slurry to thicken the sauce to a desired consistency before removing from the hob for later use. And now onto the chicken. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to dice our chicken and brine it in water and 2 tablespoons of salt. To do that, we're just going to cut the chicken into small 2cm chunks or so, and then we're going to soak it in water with 2 tablespoons of salt for around 2 hours. We're then going to add the chicken after it's brined to the first lot of corn flour, and we're going to add a little bit of MSG to that, and we're going to thoroughly coat. What I didn't put on the video is the next step is that we're going to add 1 egg to the chicken, and we're going to mix that together to form like a thick batter. We're then going to prepare our next corn flour bath with corn flour and our 2 tablespoons of custard powder. We're going to throw in our pre-battered chicken, and again we're going to thoroughly coat this until every bit is coated in corn flour and comes apart with ease from each piece. We're then going to fry that at around 180 degrees C, between 170 and 180 is fine, for around 3 to 5 minutes. The chicken should just about be cooked. It doesn't matter if it's a little bit under, because once we remove and drain on a kitchen towel, it is going to continue cooking, and then when we come to frying it with the orange sauce, it will cook that a little bit more. So once it's drained and cooked, we're going to preheat a wok before adding our chicken that's been pre-cooked and our orange sauce. Yes, the pan does look dirty, but I had done a portion prior to that, and here we go with a finished article. A lovely, sweet, sticky orange chicken. Could be served with anything really, but I chose on this occasion to serve it with rice and garnish it with spring onion greens. I hope you enjoy this as much as I did. As per usual, if you would like to leave a comment, please do so, or hit that like and subscribe button, or click the notification button to be informed of future episodes. I have linked 2 previous episodes. If you would like to go and have a look at them, please do so. Have a lovely evening. Goodbye.